O kia ora e hoa. Haere mai, come and join me. Have you got a pet at your house? Maybe you've got a pet dog. Well, some pet dogs are working dogs as well. They have a job to do. Like this dog here, Watson, the detective dog. It's inspired by true events about a real dog, and it's by Susan Brocker and illustrated by Jenny Cooper. This is Watson here. Are you ready for a story about a detective dog? Are you nice and comfy? Me too. Let's begin. Since he was a puppy, the little Cocker Spaniel loved to play fetch. His human dad, Jon, would throw his favourite ball into the long grass. "Find it," he'd say. The little brown puppy dashed off, his tail twirling above the grass. Back and forth, back and forth. Can you see his tail twirling? Well, twirling means to go round and round. Every time he found the ball and bounded back with it in his mouth. "Good boy," Jon cheered. Jon's wife Chloe suggested they name him Watson, after the famous detective Sherlock Holmes's helper. "Because he never gives up the search," she said. "Yes, he'd make a great detection dog," Jon agreed. "He could sniff out endangered species." Wow. One day, a conservation worker came to watch Watson play. "Find it," Jon said, tossing the ball into the grass. Watson couldn't see the ball, but he could smell it. He sniffed, back and forth, then returned with the ball and dropped it at the worker's feet. He dashed off again and returned with another ball, then tore off back into the long grass. Before long, there were 10 balls at the conservation worker's feet. "Sorry," said Jon. "He loves balls." Look at all the balls he found in the long grass. 10 of them. With training, he'd make a great conservation dog, and we have a special species in danger, the conservation worker said, showing Watson a jar. Watson peered into the jar. He saw tiny, clear fish swimming about. He could smell them too, and his tail twirled. "They're native whitebait. It's an itty-bitty freshwater fish," the conservationist said. Can you see the whitebait? Yum. Whitebait tastes yummy. Long ago, Māori caught them in woven flax nets. They call them inanga. But whitebait were now at risk, the conservationist explained. "We've polluted their rivers. We need to find where they lay their eggs along the riverbanks and move them to safety." The worker told Jon that people were too heavy-footed to search for the tiny eggs, but a clever dog like Watson could sniff them out. "Today, your training begins," Jon said to Watson, and the dog barked, his tail twirling. "You need to watch my hand signals because you may not hear me along the riverbanks." Jon lifted his hand, finger raised. "Sit." Watson sat. Jon lowered his hand. "Come." Watson came. He sniffed Jon's feet. Watson loved smelly socks. Those socks must be smelly. Jon and Watson boated along a river. Watson stood on the prow, the wind in his fur, his tail twirling. They caught whitebait and took them home. John popped the fish in an aquarium where they would produce their eggs. Later, when the eggs hatched, the baby inanga could be returned to a less polluted river. John taught Watson to sniff the eggs every day to learn their smell. "This is what you'll be searching for," John told him. Then Watson sniffed John's boots, searching for his smelly socks. John showed Watson 3 plastic pipes. Inside the pipe sat 3 small jars. Inside one of the jars lay whitebait eggs. John placed the pipes in a row. "Find it," he said. Watson sniffed, back and forth, back and forth. Suddenly, he popped his head inside the pipe with the eggs, then lay down beside it. He looked up at John with a doggy smile across his face. "I found them." John took Watson to the school where he taught biology. He told the students about the work he and Watson were doing to save whitebait. The children loved watching Watson search for the jar of eggs, then lie down beside it. Suddenly he dashed over to a boy and searched his pockets. The boy pulled out an apple and handed it to Watson to munch on. "Sorry," said John. "He loves apples." Fancy a dog enjoying apples. Crunchy Granny Smiths. Yum. One wet and windy day, John and Watson visited a river. John hid a tube of eggs in the grasses. "Find it!" Watson rushed to the riverbank, his tail twirling. The rain bucketed down, but Watson didn't stop. He found the tube and bounded back, dropping it at John's feet. Suddenly, Watson dashed off. John found him, rolling in a pongy puddle full of poo gecko poo. Ooh. But he looks very happy, doesn't he? Ooh. John took Watson to a training camp in the bush. Other dogs were there too. Sleek dogs, podgy-nosed dogs, and dogs with pointy ears. They were there to be tested. Watson smelled yummy scents. Kiwi, takahe, and weka. Every time he smelled the birds, his collar vibrated. Watson didn't like that feeling. Soon he didn't want to go anywhere near the birds. Can you see the sensor on the collar? It's picking up the vibration and making his collar buzz. He returned to John, searching for his smelly socks instead. John and Watson visited a forest to search for whitebait eggs along the riverbanks. Watson sniffed, back and forth, back and forth. He couldn't find any whitebait, but he met native frogs, geckos, and eels. He ignored the birds bustling in the bush. Can you see the beautiful little frogs? Native to New Zealand. One day, a film crew visited Watson. Watson loved their fluffy microphones and leapt up to nibble them. Suddenly, he dashed off. John found him with the piglets next door. Watson had dropped his ball at their feet. He wanted the piglets to play with him. "Sorry," said John. "He loves piglets." I wonder if the piglets want to play too. Watson trotted to the creek, the cameras following him. He dived into the grasses along the banks. He sniffed, back and forth, back and forth. Then, his tongue lolling, Watson looked up at John. "Whitebait!" "You're a dog star," Chloe cried. "Good boy," the TV crew cheered. One day, Watson flew to Dunedin to take his test to become a conservation dog. He loved the treats the flight crew gave him. He did well in the test, but he couldn't find the South Island whitebait eggs. They may have a different smell to the species he knew. But the team were thrilled with Watson's progress. His special training will continue. They still think he'll make a great conservation dog. Good boy, Watson. There's Jon and Chloe. And in the back of the book, a photograph of the real dog, Watson, trained by Jon and Chloe Cope. How cool is that? All based on a true story about the real dog, Watson. Watson, the detective dog. If you want to find out more about this book, you can find it at scholastic.co.nz. And I bet you can find this book in your local library or bookstore. It would be a great one to have on your bookshelf, wouldn't it? Hey, why don't you come and visit me again soon? I'll find us another good story. I love it when you come to visit. Ka kite. Goodbye, my friend.